Chapter 1. Introducing the Universe and Characters. In the bustling expanse of the Andromeda Galaxy, where stars twinkled like the gleeful eyes of children in a candy shop, Zorl, a young and ambitious Rigelian, hovered above the cosmic tapestry in his sleek spacecraft. His mission? To scour the universe for the most exotic creatures to populate his species' intergalactic zoo. But this wasn't just any ordinary zoo. It was a sanctuary of wonders, where beings from across the galaxies would gather to marvel at the strangeness and beauty of the cosmos. Zorl, with his lanky green tentacles and wide, curious eyes, was a natural explorer. He thrived on the thrill of discovery and the adrenaline rush of venturing into the unknown. As his ship, the Starstrider, zipped through the interstellar void, Zorl tapped his claws against the console in anticipation. Today he would add another marvel to his collection, something that would leave the crowds gasping in awe. "Computer, set course for Sector 7G, Zorl commanded, his voice tinged with excitement. "I have a feeling we'll find something extraordinary there." The Starstrider hummed to life, its engines thrumming with eager anticipation as it charted a course through the vast expanse of space. Soon they arrived at their destination, a remote corner of the galaxy, teeming with possibilities. Zorl scanned the star charts, his eyes darting from one blip to the next. And then he saw it, a small blue-green planet nestled among the stars like a precious gem. Earth. "Ah, Earth," Zorl mused, his tentacles twitching with anticipation. A world of untold wonders, just waiting to be discovered. With a flick of his tentacle, Zorl activated the ship's cloaking device, masking their presence from prying eyes. He didn't want to attract too much attention. Not yet, anyway. He was here on a mission, after all. As the Starstrider descended towards Earth's surface, Zorl couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. What kind of creatures would he find here? What mysteries awaited him in this strange and vibrant world? The ship touched down gently in a secluded forest, its hull shimmering in the dappled sunlight. Zorl stepped out onto the lush, green grass, his senses tingling with anticipation. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. "All right, let's see what Earth has to offer," Zorl said, his voice echoing through the tranquil forest. "Computer, scan for any signs of unusual life forms." The computer beeped obediently, its sensors sweeping the area for any signs of life. And then it found something, a group of small, furry creatures scurrying through the underbrush. "Interesting," Zorl murmured, his eyes narrowing in curiosity. "Let's take a closer look, shall we?" With a wave of his tentacle, Zorl set off into the forest, his heart pounding with excitement. What wonders awaited him on this strange and beautiful planet? Chapter 2. The Discovery. As Zorl ventured deeper into the forest, his senses heightened with each step. The air was alive with the chatter of unseen creatures, and the canopy above cast dappled shadows on the forest floor. He couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of Earth, a world teeming with life and wonder. Suddenly, a rustling in the bushes caught Zorl attention. He froze, his tentacles twitching with anticipation. Was this it? Had he finally stumbled upon the elusive inhabitants of this strange planet? With bated breath, Zorl crept closer, his eyes scanning the underbrush for any sign of movement. And then he saw them. Humans. They were unlike anything Zorl had ever seen before. Tall and bipedal, With hair of various colors and textures, they moved with a grace and agility that captivated him. Their voices rose and fell in a melodic cadence, their laughter echoing through the forest like the tinkling of wind chimes. Zorblax watched in fascination as the humans went about their daily lives, gathering food and tending to their young. There was something about them that stirred a sense of curiosity within him, a desire to learn more about their customs and culture. And then it struck him, an idea so bold and audacious that it sent a shiver down his spine. He would capture a human and bring it back to his home planet as an exhibit, a living, breathing testament to the wonders of Earth. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Zorblax set his plan into motion. He would need to be clever and stealthy if he was to succeed, but he was determined to make it happen. As night fell and the forest grew quiet, Zorblax crept through the underbrush like a shadow, his senses attuned to the slightest sound or movement. He knew that capturing a human would not be easy, but he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goal. Suddenly, he spotted a lone figure walking through the forest, their silhouette illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. It was now or never. With a burst of speed, Zorblax lunged forward, his tentacles outstretched as he tackled the unsuspecting human to the ground. The human let out a startled cry, thrashing and struggling against Zorblax's grip, but he held on tight, determined not to let his prize escape. "Gotcha!" Zorblax exclaimed triumphantly, his heart racing with adrenaline. "You're coming with me, little human." But as he looked into the human's wide, terrified eyes, a pang of guilt washed over him. What had he done? Was it right to take this creature away from its home and family? Zorblax hesitated, torn between his desire for discovery and his conscience. But in the end, his curiosity won out. With a determined nod, he hoisted the struggling human onto his back and set off towards the Starstrider, his mind buzzing with excitement. Chapter 3. The Dilemma. Zorblax had thought capturing a human would be a simple task, but oh, how wrong he was. As he attempted to wrangle his captive into the containment pod aboard the Starstrider, he found himself engaged in a comical battle of wits and agility. The human, whom Zorblax had affectionately named Squirm, lived up to their name, wriggling and squirming in Zorblax's grasp like an eel covered in oil. "Let me go, you slimy space squid!" Squirm shouted, flailing their limbs in a frenzy. Zorblax huffed in frustration, struggling to maintain his grip on the slippery creature. "I'm not a squid. I'm a Rigelian," he protested, his tentacles twitching with exasperation. "And I'm not letting you go until you promise not to run away again." But Squirm had other ideas. With a swift kick to Zorblax's midsection, they broke free from his grasp and bolted across the ship's deck, leaving Zorblax sprawled on the floor in a tangle of tentacles. As Zorblax scrambled to his feet, he couldn't help but admire Squirm's resourcefulness. Despite their diminutive size, humans were surprisingly cunning and agile, a fact that Zorblax was beginning to appreciate more and more. "All right, Squirm, you win," Zorblax conceded, holding up his tentacles in surrender. "You're free to go. For now." Squirm shot him a suspicious glare, but cautiously edged closer, curiosity getting the better of them. "What do you want from me, space squid?" they demanded, their voice tinged with suspicion. Zorblax sighed, running a tentacle through his wiry hair. "I need your help," he admitted, his tone earnest. "I'm trying to capture humans to bring back to my home planet as exhibits for our intergalactic zoo. But you creatures are proving to be quite elusive." Squirm's eyes widened in horror. "You want to turn us into zoo animals?" they exclaimed, their voice rising to a panicked squeak. "That's barbaric." Zorblax winced, realizing he had made a grave error in judgment. "I didn't mean it like that," he protested, his voice tinged with guilt. "I just thought, well, I thought it would be interesting for my species to learn more about yours. But now I see that was a mistake." Squirm regarded him with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity, their guard slowly beginning to lower. "So what now?" they asked, their voice softer now, tinged with uncertainty. Zorblax smiled, a glimmer of hope dancing in his eyes. "Now we work together," he declared, extending a tentative tentacle toward Squirm in a gesture of friendship. "You help me capture humans, and in return, I promise to treat you with the respect and dignity you deserve." Squirm eyed Zorblax warily, but after a moment's hesitation, they tentatively reached out and clasped his tentacle in their hand. "Deal," they said, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of their lips. And with that, Zorblax and Squirm set off on their quest to capture humans, their unlikely partnership forged in the fires of adversity and humor. Chapter 4. The Capture. As Zorblax and Squirm continued their quest to capture humans, they encountered one obstacle after another. Time and time again, their attempts were thwarted by the quick thinking and agility of their prey. But just when they were on the brink of giving up hope, fate intervened in the form of a plucky young human named Sarah. Sarah, with her fiery red hair and sharp wit, proved to be a formidable opponent. No matter how hard Zorblax and Squirm tried to outsmart her, she always seemed to be one step ahead, slipping through their grasp like a greased pig at a carnival. But Zorblax was not one to be deterred so easily. With a stubborn determination that bordered on obsession, he set his sights on capturing Sarah and bringing her back to his home planet as his prized exhibit. And so, he devised a cunning plan to lure Sarah into his trap. With Squirm's help, he set up an elaborate ruse, using a holographic projector to create the illusion of a lavish banquet in the heart of the forest. As Sarah stumbled upon the scene, her eyes widening in astonishment, Zorblax and Squirm lay in wait, concealed behind the trees like hunters stalking their prey. This was it, the moment they had been waiting for. But as Sarah cautiously approached the banquet, her senses on high alert, Zorblax couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. Here was a creature of remarkable intelligence and resilience, and he was about to rob her of her freedom and autonomy. As Sarah reached out to pluck a juicy-looking fruit from the holographic table, Zorblax made his move, lunging forward with all the grace and finesse of a drunken octopus. But to his surprise, Sarah was ready for him. With a swift kick to Zorblax's midsection, she sent him sprawling to the ground in a tangled heap of limbs and tentacles. "Nice try, space squid," she taunted, a mischievous glint in her eye. "But you'll have to do better than that to catch me." Zorblax groaned in defeat, his pride wounded, but his admiration for Sarah growing with each passing moment. She was unlike any human he had ever encountered, clever, resourceful, and utterly fearless in the face of danger. As he picked himself up off the forest floor, Zorblax couldn't help but smile. Perhaps capturing Sarah wasn't the victory he had hoped for, but it had opened his eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. Maybe humans weren't meant to be pets, after all. "All right, Sarah," You win, Zorblax conceded, his voice tinged with resignation. You're free to go. For now. Sarah regarded him with a mixture of amusement and skepticism, her guard still firmly in place. And what's to stop me from running away again? She asked, her tone challenging. Zorblax shrugged, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. Nothing, I suppose, he admitted. But maybe, just maybe, you'll decide to stick around and help me with my next big adventure. Sarah raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. And what might that be? She asked, a hint of intrigue creeping into her voice. Zorblax grinned, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Why, exploring the stars, of course, he declared, his voice ringing with enthusiasm. And who better to accompany me on such a grand adventure than a human as clever and resourceful as yourself? Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement, her skepticism melting away like snow in the spring. Well, when you put it that way, she said, a playful smile tugging at the corners of her lips, how can I refuse? And with that, Zorblax and Sarah set off into the unknown, their unlikely partnership forged in the fires of adversity and humor. Chapter 5. The Escape. As Zorblax and Sarah ventured deeper into the forest, their banter echoing through the trees like the chittering of woodland creatures, Zorblax couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Sarah seemed unusually quiet, her usually lively demeanor replaced by a thoughtful expression that set off alarm bells in Zorblax's mind. "All right, Sarah, spill it," Zorblax demanded, his tentacles twitching with suspicion. "What's going on in that devious little brain of yours?" Sarah flashed him a coy smile, her eyes dancing with mischief. "Oh, nothing much," she replied, her voice dripping with innocence. "I just thought it might be fun to play a little game." Zorblax narrowed his eyes, his curiosity piqued. "A game, you say? And what, pray tell, might this game entail?" Sarah chuckled, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Why, a game of cat and mouse, of course," she declared, her voice tinged with amusement. "You see, Zorblax, I have a proposition for you." Zorblax cocked an eyebrow, his interest piqued. "Oh? And what might that be?" Sarah leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "How about we make a little wager?" she suggested, a playful smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "If I can outsmart you and escape from your clutches, you have to let me go free. But if you catch me, well, I suppose I'll have to come willingly." Zorblax considered her proposal for a moment, weighing the risks and rewards. On the one hand, he was loath to let Sarah slip through his fingers once again. But on the other hand, he couldn't deny the thrill of the chase, the exhilarating rush of adrenaline that came with pursuing his prey. "All right, Sarah, you're on," Zorblax declared, his voice tinged with excitement. "But don't think I'll go easy on you. I intend to catch you fair and square." Sarah grinned, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "We'll see about that," she teased, before darting off into the forest like a bolt of lightning, her laughter trailing behind her like the echo of distant thunder. Zorblax wasted no time in giving chase, his heart pounding in his chest as he pursued Sarah through the dense underbrush. She was surprisingly fast and agile, ducking and weaving through the trees with the grace of a seasoned acrobat. But Zorblax was determined not to let her get away this time. With a burst of speed, he closed the gap between them, his tentacles reaching out to snatch her up in his grasp. But to his astonishment, Sarah slipped through his fingers like a handful of sand, her laughter ringing in his ears like the chiming of bells. "Nice try, space squid," she taunted, her voice echoing through the forest like the call of a wild bird. Zorblax growled in frustration, his pride wounded, but his admiration for Sarah growing with each passing moment. She was unlike any creature he had ever encountered, cunning, resourceful, and utterly fearless in the face of danger. As he watched her disappear into the depths of the forest, Zorblax couldn't help but smile. Perhaps capturing Sarah wasn't the victory he had hoped for, but it had opened his eyes to a whole new world of possibilities. Maybe humans weren't meant to be pets, after all. "All right, Sarah, you win," Zorblax conceded, his voice tinged with resignation. "You're free to go. For now." Sarah regarded him with a mixture of amusement and triumph, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "And what's to stop me from running away again?" she asked, her voice teasing. Zorblax shrugged, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "Nothing, I suppose," he admitted, "but maybe, just maybe, you'll decide to stick around and show me what humans are truly capable of." Sarah's smile widened, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Well, when you put it that way," she said, a playful glint in her eye, "how can I refuse?" And with that, Sarah disappeared into the depths of the forest, her laughter echoing through the trees like the melody of a song. Zorblax watched her go, his heart swelling with a newfound sense of wonder and excitement. Perhaps this was just the beginning of their adventures together. Chapter 6. The Climax. As Zorblax and Sarah ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, their laughter echoing through the trees like the playful chatter of woodland sprites, they had no inkling of the danger that lay ahead. But as they emerged into a clearing bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, their playful banter was abruptly cut short by the sound of distant explosions echoing on the horizon. "What in the name of Nebulon is that?" Zorblax exclaimed, his tentacles trembling with fear. "It sounds like trouble," Sarah finished for him, her eyes wide with alarm. "We need to find out what's going on, and fast." With a shared glance of determination, Zorblax and Sarah set off towards the source of the commotion, their hearts pounding in their chests as they raced through the forest like the wind. As they emerged into a clearing, they were greeted by a scene of chaos and destruction. Hovering above the city skyline like malevolent shadows, a fleet of sleek, metallic spacecrafts descended upon the city, their weapons trained on the unsuspecting inhabitants below. The air crackled with energy as laser beams sliced through the night sky, sending buildings crumbling to the ground in showers of sparks and debris. "We need to do something," Sarah declared, her voice ringing with determination. "We can't just stand by and watch while innocent people are being attacked." Zorblax nodded in agreement, his eyes ablaze with righteous fury. "Agreed. But what can we possibly do against such formidable foes?" Sarah flashed him a mischievous grin, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Oh, I think I have a few tricks up my sleeve," she replied, before darting off towards the nearest spacecraft like a bolt of lightning, her laughter trailing behind her like the echo of distant thunder. Zorblax watched in awe as Sarah launched herself onto the hull of the spacecraft, her movements fluid and graceful as she dodged incoming fire with the ease of a seasoned warrior. With a burst of speed, he followed her lead, his tentacles reaching out to latch onto the metallic surface with all the tenacity of a barnacle clinging to a shipwreck. Together, they fought with a ferocity and determination that belied their size, their laughter mingling with the roar of explosions as they waged war against their alien adversaries. With each blow landed and each foe vanquished, their bond grew stronger, their partnership forged in the fires of adversity and humor. And as the last of the invaders fled into the depths of space, defeated and humiliated by the unexpected resilience of Earth's defenders, Zorblax realized with a sense of wonder and awe that humans were not just pets, but formidable protectors of their home planet. "Looks like we saved the day, Space Squid," Sarah teased, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Zorblax chuckled, his heart swelling with pride. "Indeed we did, my friend. Indeed we did." And as they stood together, bathed in the glow of victory, Zorblax knew that their adventures were far from over. For as long as they had each other, there was no challenge they couldn't overcome, no obstacle they couldn't conquer. Chapter 7. The Outcome. As the dust settled and the remnants of the alien invasion fleet disappeared into the vast expanse of space, Zorblax and Sarah stood amidst the ruins of the city, their hearts heavy with the weight of the battle they had just fought. But even in the face of destruction and despair, they found hope and possibility. "Well, that was certainly an adventure, wasn't it?" Sarah remarked, her voice tinged with exhaustion, but also with a hint of amusement. Zorblax chuckled, his tentacles twitching with fatigue. "You could say that again," he replied, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "I don't think I've had this much excitement since the great space squid incident of '87. Sarah laughed, a warm, melodic sound that echoed through the empty streets like the promise of a new dawn. "Ah, yes, I remember that. Good times," she replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. But as the laughter faded and the reality of their situation set in, Zorblax knew that they had a choice to make. They could either return to their old lives and pretend that none of this had ever happened, or they could embrace the opportunity before them and forge a new path forward. "Well, Sarah, it looks like we've got ourselves a bit of a mess to clean up," Zorblax remarked, his tone serious but hopeful. "But I have a feeling that together we can turn this disaster into an opportunity." Sarah nodded in agreement, her eyes shining with determination. "I couldn't agree more, Zorblax. But where do we start?" Zorblax smiled, a glimmer of excitement dancing in his eyes. "How about we start by forming an alliance between our two species?" he suggested, his voice ringing with enthusiasm. "We can exchange knowledge and technology, work together to rebuild what was lost, and ensure that nothing like this ever happens again." Sarah's eyes widened in surprise, her mouth falling open in astonishment. That's actually a brilliant idea, Zorblax," she exclaimed, her voice tinged with awe. "But how do you propose we go about it?" Zorblax shrugged, a playful grin spreading across his face. "Well, I was thinking we could start by inviting some of your world leaders to a little diplomatic summit on my home planet," he replied, his tone casual but his eyes twinkling with mischief. "You know, just to get the ball rolling." Sarah chuckled, her laughter mingling with the gentle hum of the city as it began to stir back to life. "Well, I suppose it couldn't hurt to give it a try," she conceded, her voice tinged with amusement. "But on one condition." Zorblax raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "And what might that be?" Sarah grinned, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "That you promise to behave yourself and not cause any more trouble," she declared, her tone teasing but also sincere. Zorblax chuckled, his heart swelling with affection for his feisty human companion. "I promise," he replied, his voice tinged with sincerity. No more shenanigans, at least for today. And as they set off towards the stars, their hearts full of hope and possibility, Zorblacks knew that their journey was far from over. For as long as they had each other, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish, no obstacle they couldn't overcome.